Hi, this is Stephanie Davis, and I just got back from speaking at the Capitol on my husband Jeffrey Davis's case. Unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties and the recordings didn't quite make it. So I am going to just go ahead and do my speech on here so everyone can hear it. So just use your imagination that I'm standing out in the hot sun and giving the speech in front of the Capitol instead of here in my home. So it's all good. First, I want to say thank you to Emily Barnes and JJ Humphrey and everyone else who had a hand in putting this event together and giving us a platform to present our loved ones' cases. You know, it's hard having a loved one in prison, and it's harder still knowing they are innocent. It hurts my heart so much when I talk to my husband and I hear the pain in his voice because he's missing out on life. He's missed high school graduations and weddings and babies being born, so many holidays, and worst of all, funerals, and it's heartbreaking. My husband, Jeffrey Davis, has been incarcerated since he was barely 18 years old, serving 5 consecutive 50-year sentences. So far, that's 34 years, and I've been with him for 13 of them. And he's missed out on so much of life. Watching his kids grow up and now his grandbabies grow up without him, only seeing them at visit when they can make it. He's missed out on 13 years of our marriage. Our life consists of phone calls and visits. And it shouldn't be that way. No innocent person should have their life stolen away, and if we had justice, he would be free. There is no way that I should have a box full of proof of his innocence and he still be locked away from us. And when I have it spread across a table, I see the proof of the injustices done to him. I see the proof of an attorney who wasn't licensed to practice showing up to represent him at pretrial. An unlicensed attorney violates Oklahoma law when they represent to the court and to their client that they are otherwise licensed to practice. I see where Jeffrey wrote the bar and the public defender's office filing complaints. He asked the judge many times to have a different attorney because this one was not representing him at all. And no one even knew where this attorney came from. The public defender's office says that this attorney was with them, and still the judge denies his request to change attorneys repeatedly. This violates his Sixth Amendment right to effective assistance of counsel and his right to counsel of choice. I see where this attorney, along with the prosecutor and judge, all allowed the co-defendant's plea and testimony to stand, even though there was no evidence or testimony to corroborate it. In fact, the victim's testimony contradicts it. They knew it was perjured testimony, but there was no objections. I see where this attorney sat by as lie after lie was presented in Jeffrey Davis's PSI. A PSI is your pre-sentence investigation. It's what the judge looks at before passing sentence on you. It starts by saying that he pled guilty, but he has maintained his innocence throughout the trial and all these years since. They said he was identified by 3 victims and no one knew who held the gun. Yet there is testimony showing 2 victims in the first car couldn't identify who robbed and shot at them because it was too dark. But the co-defendant admitted to doing this and killing their friend. The victim in the second car identified Jeffrey as being in the background when he was robbed and shot, and that Jeffrey hadn't said or done anything to participate in the crime. He identified the co-defendant as being the only one who robbed and shot him. The PSI goes on to make statements on Jeffrey's behalf that are paraphrased for clarity. For those that do not know, Jeff speaks clearly and there was no reason to paraphrase or say what he basically said or said in essence, but that is exactly what they did throughout the preliminary stages as well as his pre-sentence investigation. When you do this, you have freedom to add or take away from what was actually said. You may add names or anything else you would like to make the story fit your narrative. This should not be allowed in a court of law. It states he has no remorse and does not accept responsibility for his actions. This would be completely normal behavior for someone who is innocent. I have the papers showing where Jeffrey Davis's attorney abandoned him after sentencing without filing an appeal or a notice of no appeal, which he should have done by law. As an indigent defendant, he had every reason to believe his attorney would do this. And then instead of the 10-day hold the judge ordered to give him a chance to appeal, Jeffrey was sent out to A&R in 5 days. They were so intent on putting Jeffrey Davis away that the state had another case as backup, and it was dropped at the end of Jeffrey Davis's sentencing. It also had co-defendants involved, and they dropped charges on everyone upon Jeffrey Davis's conviction. I look at these papers strewn in stacks across my table, and I see how he tried to get his transcripts once he got to A&R, and he knew it was too late for his attorney to appeal. He tried his best to put an appeal together, but the judge repeatedly denied him access to his trial transcripts. The denials made by Judge Dalton were insufficient and made no reasonable determination why he had no need for his transcripts. Under the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution, equal protection requires the state to provide indigent defendants with the basic tools of an adequate defense, including trial transcripts, when those tools are available to other defendants for a price. And to make matters worse, I have the state's reply to a PCR where the state admits to illegally destroying his trial transcripts, even though he had pleadings and actions taken on his case at least every 2 to 3 years. They say they were never transcribed, and there is no hope of recovery. How do they transcribe everything in the pretrial stage, the plea from his co-defendant, and everything leading up to the trial, and then have the PSI, the judgment and sentencing, and everything after the trial, but somehow not transcribe the trial? I sit and I stare at the recant from the co-defendant, stating Jeffrey was not involved, and that he was threatened by the DA to implicate Jeffrey Davis, or they would give him the death penalty. And it's infuriating. I am so disgusted at the injustices that they have dealt him. We have presented it all in PCRs, only to have them denied and called frivolous. How can this be? We have proof. Yet they barred him from further actions or PCRs without special permission. I sit and I look at them all, and it makes me sick. This should never happen. I should not sit here with all this proof of innocence and have our hands tied legally. This is not justice. Laws need to change. If the laws keep the innocent locked away with the guilty with no avenue to be heard, then they need to change. These laws do not stand for justice, and they do not protect the innocent. If an individual has proof of their innocence and wrongful conviction, it should not be dismissed by our judges. Justice is about what is right, not about being a winner. When our state ignores people's rights and ignores evidence and testimony proving innocence in order to win in the courts, the state has become the criminal and justice is destroyed. We need help. I need help. I have fought and I've done all that I know to do. Over the years, over $70,000 have gone to attorneys and private eyes, only for them to take the money and do nothing, or present a half-hearted attempt at a PCR and then ask for $25,000 more to appeal it 3 weeks too late. We need someone to do something and help bring him home. I have the evidence. I have the paperwork proving his innocence, but I need help. And I ask that if you or anyone you know could help us to fight this conviction and bring justice to Jeffrey, please contact me or see me at our table to get more information. But I want to leave this on a good note. Jeffrey Davis has not let this crush him, and he has not given up hope. With the help of the warden and chaplain, he began a church called G&J's House of Prayer at James Crabtree in 2017, and we pastor it together. We founded the DOC Depending on Christ program at the prison, which is in its 4th year. Jeffrey has chosen to use his life for good, to give others hope and an avenue for change, to give them tools to make better choices and have better outcomes in their lives. He is a source of joy to everyone he meets, and he has such a tender heart for others. I know that he will do great things once he is free, because he already is from the inside. His family want him home. He has children and grandchildren who love him with all their heart, and they want him home. I want him home. He deserves to be free and have a life outside with his family and friends. Thank you for your time and the support you have shown by showing up today. God bless you all.